All right. We are live on YouTube. We are about to be live on Instagram. All right. We are officially live on YouTube, on Instagram, and we are wrapping up a series. Let me make this light look less obnoxious. Okay. That feels good. That feels like the right amount of glow, but not like I'm a neon person. Okay. Anyway, unrelated. I'm slightly annoyed by this. I'm going to turn this off. Okay, whatever. We're here. The lighting will be worked out as we go. But the reason I'm here today, and the most important part of this discussion, is that we are wrapping up a 5-part series that I am calling Evolve, my Evolve live stream series, all about becoming a new version of yourself. And if you haven't been following along all week, the good news is that I'm going to be emailing out all of this week's replays so that you have them in one organized place. And if you want those emailed to you, all you have to do is sign up. The link is going to be in my Instagram stories. If you're watching on YouTube, the link is down below. I have a new link from the link that I was sending out before, but if you signed up using the old link, you're perfectly fine. I just created a new link because the tech is easier with the new link, but that is neither here nor there. If you want the live stream series, sign up either down below the YouTube video or in the link in my Instagram stories. And with that one more bit of housekeeping. How could I forget? I'm also hosting a retreat in June in the Catskill Mountains, June 20th to 22nd. And I am currently opening up the waitlist for that retreat. The waitlist closes on March 20th, and everyone on the waitlist gets $300 off their retreat fees. So if you are considering going on this retreat, just listen with that in mind. And the waitlist link will be in the link in my Instagram bio, or if you're watching this on YouTube, it is down below the YouTube description. I think that is all of the housekeeping, and now we can get into the juicy topic for today. So the title of today's live stream is What to Do While You Wait for Your Manifestation. The little subtitle that I have for today is Rock the Void, because sometimes it can feel like we're in a bit of a void when we have put an intention out there, when we have declared that we are going to create something, and then we're in that messy in-between stage in between when we have decided to pursue something, when we've decided to manifest something, and when that thing actually comes to fruition. I like to call that the void, and I teach in my Moody and Magnetic program all about rocking the void. And you might be wondering why I am talking about this at the end of a live stream series that's all about personal growth and becoming a new version of you. And this is really clear and simple to me, and I want to make it clear and simple to you. When you go on a journey of personal growth and when you start changing who you are and creating a new version of you, the byproduct of that is that your life changes. You create a new chapter of your life when you create a new version of yourself. And that might be worth writing down anyway for anyone who's listening. You always create a new chapter of your life whenever you create a new version of yourself. And one of the reasons why we're ending this live stream series talking about manifestation is that sometimes, and myself included, we feel this awkward tension between the life we're living and the situation we find ourselves in and the person we've become. Because oftentimes personal growth happens first and then the external changes happen second. And when I say oftentimes, I mean pretty much 100% of the time, you grow and change as a person, and then your life changes externally. And so what do we do while we're in this in-between period where we have become a new version of ourselves? We've raised our standards. We've let go of the past. We've done all the work that I've been talking you through all week. And now it's time to really start looking at our lives and seeing some of the things that I'm experiencing in my life don't actually match up. Hey, Joanne. Some of the things I'm experiencing in my life don't actually match up with the person that I am. Maybe you're noticing that you're in relationships that don't meet your new standards and your new boundaries. Maybe if you have a business, you're noticing that your prices do not match who you know you are and the value you know you provide. And you're in that in between where you're waiting for clients to book you at your new price, or you're waiting for people to show up who actually get you and who value the new version of you. That's like what we were talking about on day one of this series, right? What to do when people don't get you. Well, the flip side of that is what to do when you value yourself and you're waiting for new friends or new community members who actually value you the same way that you value you. So, what do you do in this void, in this in between period where you know you've done the work to become a new version of yourself? You've raised the bar for your life as a result, and you are waiting for external reality to catch up to what you have done on the inside. And so I know that this is a situation that a lot of us find ourselves in. And I have a couple notes here on just things to keep in mind and things to remember as you're going through this period. Because what we don't want to do is use this as an excuse to revert back to our past self. That is the thing that I would hate to see happen. And that's the thing that I'm really coming on this live stream to warn you out of or talk you out of. Do not let the fact that your external circumstances haven't yet caught up to your internal as proof or evidence that your personal growth journey isn't working or whatever. Don't start reverting back to your past self. And this is very subtle. So it might be that, let's say, you have raised the bar for your business, you've decided to raise your prices, and people are not yet signing up at the old price. The going backwards scenario would be, okay, well, I'll just lower my prices back down, or I will give my old clients the old price if that's not something that feels aligned for you. I do that sometimes, and it feels really good for me to let my old clients renew their packages and keep their price for the upcoming package, but that doesn't feel good for everybody. So just examples, like, is there something that you're doing that doesn't feel good to you, but you are only doing it because your external reality hasn't yet shifted? And you're kind of telling yourself, well, if I had new clients at my new price, then I would totally keep my prices the way that I want them. But because no one's signing up, I am going to lower my price back down. So it's really about why you're doing what you're doing. Are you doing something because you're scared that your new reality isn't coming? Are you doing something because you're scared your manifestation isn't actually on the way? Or are you doing something that actually feels aligned given the version of yourself that you are now? And so this really is the period of time where you have to live as your future self. You have to live in line with all of the work that you've done on yourself. You have to live in line with this new version of you that you've cultivated, even while your reality doesn't look the same, even while your reality doesn't match. Another example with dating. So let's say you have raised the bar on the kind of people that you date, and you're not really, matching with on apps or just like meeting in the real world people who meet your standards at this point. This is a situation that I have found myself in before. So let's just go here, right? You have a bar for the kind of person that you want to be with, and you're not seeing that person show up. You have options. You could just lower your standard and date whoever is convenient, whoever's around, just because you can, just because it's familiar. Or you can say, I am actually not going to go on any dates until I find someone who meets my standards. And it's just those two things. It's like you recognize that you have the option and you choose the option that lines you up with your future self. And sometimes when you don't have the exact thing that your future self would do, like for example, if you're like, well, my future self is in this awesome relationship, but I don't see that person, right? You're waiting for the person to manifest. Choose the thing that keeps you from going back to your old self. So for me, for this dating example, it's like I am choosing to not go on dates with random people who do not meet my standards just because I can. And I would rather wait until I actually meet someone who meets my standards, right? And so that is the thing we want to keep in mind, is like you have a new bar for your life and you have new standards, and this is going to be different depending on what you're manifesting. So business, relationships, this might be true with your family. Sometimes you might have to tell your family members like, hey, I don't want to talk to you about this certain area of my life or about this certain topic. Like, I don't want to have these conversations with you unless you are willing to show up in X, Y, and Z way. And maybe they're not willing to show up in that way. And so you have to hold your ground and say, okay, we're not going to have these conversations unless you are willing to show up in the way that I need you to show up here. And again, whatever you're manifesting is going to dictate how this goes for you, but don't settle, is what I'm trying to say. While you're waiting for your manifestation, don't just settle for the next best thing. Don't just settle for what's old and what's familiar, because at this point you've gone on such a beautiful journey and you've become a new version of yourself, and you don't need to settle. You might just feel tempted to settle because maybe you're worried that the thing that you're manifesting isn't out there, or maybe you're bored while you wait. And so let's talk a little bit about that, the boredom, the sense of like nothing's even happening. And this, again, I'll give business examples and I'll give dating examples because those are the things that like are really salient to me right now. And you take this and you adapt it to wherever you're at in life. So business, you are manifesting a new client that is a match for a new price point, right? Let's just say that's what has come out of this personal growth journey. You've realized you need to raise your prices. Your new client isn't showing up. You've decided, I am not going to revert back and lower my prices out of fear, but also not out of boredom. Like maybe you're like, but I actually want to help people and I'm not, fulfilled. And this has happened to me before where I had to sit with myself and be like, okay, what if no one joins this program and I was actually very excited to run it? Like I had that happen last year. I was like, what if no one joins this program and I really want to run this program and I believe in this program so much and it matters to me so much and I would rather have people in the program so I can run it versus nobody in the program because no one is a fit for the price. And I had to have those conversations with myself where I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to lower the standard that I have? Or am I going to be determined? And this is what ended up really happening. And for any of you who've been observing my business for like years, this is going to explain something that you might have noticed. I had to say to myself, okay, I get that I have a heart to help people. I get that I have a lot to say and I really want to help people and I really want to show up. I have options. I can continue to do work at a price that is lower than what I feel comfortable charging, or I can help people every single day for free to scratch that itch. And what I mean is, I can put out tons of free content to scratch that itch, and I can reserve my client work for the people who are a fit for the prices that I actually feel comfortable receiving, that I actually feel comfortable charging, that I feel my work is worth. Because lowering the bar and saying, you can have my program for a fraction of what I believe it's worth, for a fraction of what I feel comfortable charging, creates this lose-lose situation where I don't feel motivated and aligned in the container and what kind of leader am I really going to be. And I also feel like I'm just not in the place that I want to be in. I'm feeling like I didn't receive enough. I'm feeling lack, even though these people are here and they paid and they want support. And this is like going into the weeds, but I hope it's helpful to illustrate like it can create a, oh, hey, Jean. It can create this like tension, right? When you're like, I have set my standard up here. I am holding out for this standard. And meanwhile, along the way, now I'm afraid that no one's going to meet my standard. So I'm going to lower my standard. And now I'm in this situation where I'm feeling resentful and where I'm not feeling like I get my needs met. And it's not anyone's real fault but my own, because the people who came into my life at the lower standard, whether it's clients or people that I'm dating or whatever it might be, it's not those people's fault, because as far as they understand, I'm available for this. And so I can't really resent them, and I don't really want to resent myself. So then what's the solution? And the solution is to hold the standard and to not settle, not lower the standard, just because you're not seeing what you want right away. And again, we gave a business example. I can give a dating example too. So I have been going through this where I'm feeling like, okay, my bar for the kind of person I want to be with is up here, and I am not seeing people who are actually up here. And so let me just lower the bar and date whoever is available, whoever is convenient for me to date because I'm bored. Literally, this is what I was going through a couple of months ago, and I'll just be honest about that. So I was like, let me just date whoever because I'm bored. And I was not fulfilled in those situations. I wouldn't even call them relationships. Like, I was just like, I was not fulfilled. I was not getting what I actually wanted out of spending my time and energy in that way, and I wasn't feeling like I was connecting with people in a way that was like meaningful for what I wanted in my life. And it wasn't those people's fault, because as far as I was concerned, I was making myself available for that. I was showing up to the dates. I was actively participating even though I didn't want to. And it was almost this sense of like, well, I either have to convince myself that this is okay, even though it doesn't feel good, or I have to be willing to hold out for what I really want in life. And this is where we find ourselves, right? This is what happens when we go through a personal transformation. We start expecting our life to look different, and we deserve for our life to look different. And that's another point that I want to make sure that I make here is like, you're not going to be waiting forever. You're not going to be in this like void period where you have asked for something and you've become a new version of yourself. And then you're like, it's not here, what's happening. That's not a forever thing. It might be longer than you feel comfortable with, but it's not forever. And when you remember that it's not forever, and when you can make a real like commitment to your future self and say, hey, I am going to hold out until I see the life that you get to have, like until I see what what I know is available to you, until I see that come to fruition, I am going to hold out and wait. Because if we look at the dating thing again and we look at the business thing with the clients, if I was to decide, okay, I'm just going to date randos and I'm just going to take these clients at a lower price because whatever, because I'm bored, what that would also do is now I'm not available for the actual person I want to date. And now I'm too busy to help the actual clients at the price that I want. So it kind of delays the whole situation versus I am open, I am available. I am continuing to make myself comfortable in this period of waiting, which is literally just all it is. It's just a period of waiting. It's like as if you're waiting for a flight. Like, let's say you go to the airport and your flight gets delayed. What are you going to do? Like, are you going to leave the airport entirely and say, no, I'll just walk? Or are you going to get comfortable at the gate and, you know, maybe pull out your laptop or watch a show or get some food or like do whatever, because you know that at some point the plane is going to take off and it's all going to be okay. And that's really the mindset that I hope you'll bring to this season of your life while you're kind of like in this in between. And it's interesting because if you do enough personal growth, you will always kind of be in the in between, because you'll always have an awareness of what you deserve and what you're capable of and who you are now and what you want now. And you know, there will be moments, but they're just moments of like, oh yes, the person who I know I'm meant to be with is finally here in my life. That's awesome, but now I have another standard for my business, or now I have another standard for this other area of my life, and all of a sudden I'm going through the process again. And so for some of you, it's like you're going through this process at many different stages in many different areas of your life. And so the better you can get at like being comfortable at the gate, quote unquote. I kind of like this gate analogy, so I'm going to stick with it. The better you can get being comfortable in that waiting period and not letting it be a chance for you to go run back to your past self and like leave the airport and walk, so to speak, the easier this whole thing will become. And I think that's why a lot of people who have a lot of potential to do amazing things in the world and to live incredible lives don't reach their full potential, is because this in between time is tricky. This in between time is awkward. This in between time is something that it takes skill to actually like navigate, and not a lot of people talk about it. I think a lot of people talk about the point at which you are completely unfulfilled and complacent and like basically just on the sidelines of life. And a lot of people talk about the period where you are completely living the full manifestation of your dreams. And what do you do in between, right? Like, what do you do when you have decided, I am going to change my life? I am going to start by changing myself, because we know that the change happens from the inside out. So I am devoted. I'm going to make the changes to myself that I need to make. And now that I've made the changes to myself, I am then going to live by that, really no matter what, until I see the external situation around me change, until I see the doors opening, until I see the opportunities coming, until I see the right partner showing up, until I see the right clients showing up. Because at the end of the day, all of life, we're pretty much waiting for something. We're pretty much in this moment where we're like, okay, I'm in between point A and point B. Life is the journey. That's what I'm really trying to say here, is that life is the journey. Life is always the journey. And so if you can master the journey, and if you can be very good at the journey, and if you can rock the void, like I talk about in my courses and stuff, if you can do that, you will actually achieve all of your goals. You will actually create the life that you want for yourself, and you'll have a repeatable way of doing it, so that when you have new goals, when you have new desires and visions, you will already know, okay, there will be this waiting period, but I've got this. There will be this waiting period, but I can handle it and I know what to do. So a couple more things about what to do in this period, because it is actually very important, and I want to make sure that you guys get this and that you have things that you can go ahead and implement even today. These can be things that you process and journal through and like start implementing in your life. So don't revert back to your past self. Don't settle for less than what you really want. Find a way to handle the boredom, or the kind of like void period. So for example, I was bored being single and I just dated randos. What could I have done differently? Well, what I'm doing now is I decided that 2025 is a year I am dating myself. And I actually am using the book Buy Yourself the Damn Flowers by Tam Core. And I'm using that book to teach myself how to date myself. Like, I'm literally giving my love languages back to myself. I'm taking myself on solo dates. I'm doing all these things to manage, literally to manage the boredom of being single. And I know that as I go through the book, my relationship with being single is going to change a lot. But for context, I was engaged to someone. I was in a relationship for like 5 years, and now, or not five, like 4, whatever. I was in a relationship for several years and I was engaged. And being single is new to me. And I also got into that relationship when I was pretty young. I was like 22. And so being single is new to me, and I have to learn how to do it. And for some of you, if you're like, okay, I raised my price and I'm waiting for the new clients to show up, I'm not going to go back to the old clients, but how can I manage that very real desire to serve people and to help people and to like be of service? For me, that was content. I decided to put so much more effort into my free content when I realized I want to serve people every day. I want to help people. I want to show up. I have a lot that I want to give, and I am not willing to lower my prices. So while I am in the process of calling in the clients who are a fit for my rates, then I am going to pour my heart and my soul into creating this free content, because it gives me a channel for all of this energy that I have that wants to really help the world. And so for you, what you need to reflect on is there some boredom or some just like unused, unsatisfied urges that you're experiencing that you can meet for yourself in some other way, so that you don't revert back to the old, so that you don't go back to your past self? Is there anything that like really matters to you that you believe could only be fulfilled in this one certain way, but really there's something you can do, whether it's creatively or like something you can do that does not require the manifestation to come to fruition before you can start fulfilling that need for yourself? And really this just comes back to like self-validating and being a person who takes responsibility for your own happiness and fulfillment. Because once you're like, I'm going to be fulfilled no matter what, no matter whether the right person is here or not, no matter whether the right client is here or not, whatever that may be, when you get to that place, you will start making the choices that line up with that place, that line up with that decision that you've made. So think for yourself, like, is there any area of your life where you could be doing more to kind of quote unquote occupy yourself? Like when I was a kid, my parents were always like, okay, we have to keep the kids occupied. When I was like a toddler, we have to keep them occupied, give them a puzzle, give them, a snack, give them something just to keep them occupied, right? That's kind of what you have to do here. You have to keep yourself occupied while you're in this in between stage. So, what can you do to keep yourself occupied so that you don't revert back? And then I feel like there's one more thing that I want to say. And this really just goes back to the spirituality piece. I don't really teach anything these days without touching on spirituality, at least to some extent. And what I want you to do in this season, as well as you're like occupying yourself and holding the standard, not reverting back, is also open up and ask, is there anything that you could be doing for your spiritual connection in this time? Because it can feel a little bit untethering. It can feel destabilizing. Like, okay, I did all this effort to change myself, and now I don't see the manifestation. I don't see it reflected back to me in my life. And it is an opportunity where beliefs can either help you or hurt you, because you can start to believe, oh, like, all of that work I did on myself was for nothing. You can start to believe like the future is not going to get any better and this is as good as my life is going to get. You can start to believe all these harmful things. But when I notice that these beliefs are coming from me, the thing that helps the most is to go back to my spiritual practice and to remind myself that I have a relationship with the creator of this universe, to remind myself that, like, I use the word God and I don't think about it in a religious sense, but it's a word that resonates with me because I have a religious context. And so when I think about it, it's like, God loves me. God cares about me. God sees me in this situation. I am in this situation not alone, but with God. And I view God as unconditional love. And so I am unconditionally loved even while I'm in this period. And because I'm in this period, there must be something here for me. There must be either a lesson or a gift, probably both. And what can I do to really enjoy this time besides just keeping myself occupied? Like, how can I love this period? How can I love being single? How can I love whatever it might be that you find yourself in? How can you love it? How can you find a way to make it exciting for yourself? How can you romanticize the journey? And I get there through spiritual practices. I get there through meditation. I get there through praying. I get there through asking God questions. But you will get there in whatever way works best for you. But the point I'm making here is, like, what can you do to really give yourself a chance to love the season that you're in? And I talked about that earlier this week, but in this context with the manifestation, it's extra important because if you view it as, I'm in a waiting season, and you make it so much like this season sucks and it needs to be over, and when is it going to end, and I'm just trying to get through it, you miss out on the opportunity to really love every moment of your life. So it comes back to like presence, even just mindfulness. Like, can you take a moment to appreciate the sun shining? Can you take a moment to appreciate the birds chirping? Can you take a moment to really like love each day of your life as best as you can, knowing that one day will be the day when you actually see your manifestation come to fruition, but that's not the only day that you get to have joy. That's really what I'm trying to say here. It was a roundabout way of getting to that point. Like, find a way to love every day that you're in, even while you are waiting for this big thing to come through, because every moment is not going to be your wedding day or the day that, like, someone pays in full for your biggest package or whatever it might be. That's not going to be every day, but every day is an opportunity to have joy and to feel love and to be excited about something. And can you just find something to be excited about every single day? That is all I have for you today. I have absolutely loved doing these lives. I will be back on live again soon. Not every single day next week, but maybe at some point next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, whether you're on Instagram or on YouTube. I love and appreciate you so much. And I will see you again very soon in another live. Take good care. All right, we are officially complete on Insta, and we are about to complete on YouTube. Thank you so much to everyone who hung out with me. And I am so looking forward to all that we're going to do in this next season of life and business and all the things. All right, rooting for you. Take care.